I'm Mark McCann, I'm an off-road champion and a full-time idiot. Today I'm going to share with you my full 54 car collection. I've had hundreds of comments, people asking me to share my collection. How much is it worth? How many cars I've got? Which is my favourite? Today we're going to go through it all, from the least expensive to the most expensive. So first off, the Mini Coopers 1.6. Now you really can grab these for a bargain. So I originally bought 12 of these for my stag do, which you can check on a previous video. We had a lot of fun with them. We paid for these anywhere between 250 and 400 pounds. By the time we scrap them, cut the cat out, sell a few parts, take all the excess fuel out of them, we usually get about 400 quid for them each. The E46 drift car, I bought this to mess around in the field. It is on the list, but to be fair, Whistlin Diesel came here beforehand and ruined it. So paid about £600 for this, and it's probably worth scrap about 400, but then there's loads of bits we can sell. So let's put it down at back of that £600. The Honda FRV. So far, we've done 300 miles on nothing else but vegetable oil, just to prove that this can be done. Imagine if it's supposed to be olive oil and not vegetable oil. We paid £1,000 for this, thanks to Barney, he did us a great deal, and I reckon now this is worth at least £1,500. The brakes don't work. So, yep, Fiat Cinquecento. This is going to be yellow with a red door.
Well, I don't think it's too bad. It's not great though, is it?
These cars are now super rare, and usually because people want to paint them like the in-betweeners. This costs £1,600, but probably now, with only 39,000 miles on the clock, it's worth about £2,000. The Vauxhall Amiga Hearse. Now this car we've had a lot of fun in. We've done the chicken nugget challenge, and on my stag do, it was actually a bar. We paid for this £300 because we rescued it from the scrapyard. We've spent a bit of money on it, got it going again, and I reckon it's worth about £2,000. So this one is really interesting, the Volkswagen Caddy. We're going to repair this car, and at the minute it's on 800,000 miles, but we need your help to get it up to 1 million. So if you've got any bright ideas on how to get the mileage up faster, let us know down in the comments, and if you come up with a good idea, you can come and help us. From the auction, this cost us £1,200. We've got a bit of work to do on it, which we've spent some parts of about £200, so we're up to nearly 1,500 quid. I reckon it's worth £2,500, even with that sort of mileage, and if we get it to 1 million, surely it's going to be worth a load more money. The BMW E92 drift car, we literally built this from the ground up just to use it as a drift car. So after all the money we spent on it, we only paid £1,000, and it had been ate by rats. Probably owes us about £2,000. So I reckon if we went to sell this now, we get a good £3,000 for it. So a Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. I always wanted a Ray for a Ghost, but I've ended up with this as a Rolls Royce. But to be fair, it's got luxury carpets and it does fantastic burn. Drive door doesn't work. So I paid for this £5,000. What's it worth now? We have done a bit of damage to it, to be fair, so I'm going to put it as a value of about 3,000. So hopefully in one of the previous videos before, you've seen this, the Argo Cat. Now hopefully it's amphibious. So this cost £3,800, and it was worth £3,800, but now it's worth about 1,500 quid. So it turns out this is now worth about 500 quid, but you have to collect it. The BMW 750i. Now this is an absolute weapon of a car. V8, 4.8 litre, absolute bag of fun. This car is definitely a car for the collection. So cost £6,500. I'd say it would never lose a penny, but to be fair, we have ragged it a little bit. So for safety's sake, let us put it down at £5,000. Fiat 595 a Bath. So this one cost me about £7,500. What's it worth now? Let's put it down at 5. This is a cut down Mini. Pretty weird car, but I bought this because Jane loved it, so this was actually her wedding present. Not a lot to say about this car, apart from it's a Mini, which somebody has put the angle grinder to. But it does say it's a Bentley, and this time that wasn't me. I paid for this £4,000. It is a bit tatty, and it would be worth a lot of money if we spent a bit of money on it. So for now, let's value it at 6. Next up, this is a lot of fun, very quirky, a Mercedes Sprinter ambulance, and it is absolutely fully working. It's even got a stretcher in the back. So cost £7,500. What's it worth now? Let's put it down as 7. The smart car uplifted. Love this car. It's a smart car. It was quite an expensive one because it was a cabriolet, and then us being idiots took an angle grinder to it, lifted it up for the sole purpose to see how far we can get it to jump. With the mods, it probably cost me about £10,000. So what's it worth? I'd say 7. To me, what I've done is only increase the value, but I don't think anybody else would agree. Next is a Mitsubishi Delica, something like that. It's been imported from Japan, so that's why we're in here. So that hasn't come yet. It's just a van which goes off-road, so probably the best van I'm ever going to own. So after importing it and the VAT and all that sort of thing, this van comes to £9,000. So for the sake of this video, let's put it through exactly the same price, 9 grand. The Fiat 500L. I bought this, we were racing and we were sat in a field. Watched the auction, Jane absolutely loved it, so ended up buying it. Should I have bought it? Probably not. I've since found out a lot more about the car and it is a bit of a mongrel. So this one, I paid £9,000. What's it worth now? I'd say the same. Lots of people trying to buy it on auction, and it's been a few years since I bought it. Next up, the Subaru WRX STI. Now what this car has been through is pretty dramatic, and to be fair, I usually break this one within 2 laps. I cannot get these tyres to stop on these rims. So this car for me is all the fours. It's 4 cylinders, 4-wheel drive, 4 doors, 4 seats. It really does do everything. You can take the kids to school, go shopping, and also go rallying up the field. Rockbox podcast, Matt's on there tonight. Should be fun if he's still alive. Yeah. Oh no, that's broken. So I imported this car from Jersey, so I did save quite a lot of money. In all, it ended up costing me about £8,000. What's it worth now? There's quite a few bits missing, but I reckon it's still worth 10 grand. This is another car which is off-site, and for the simple reason, because I broke it. The Golf Synchro Country, an absolutely mad car. It's an original car which was made by the same people, Daimler Pooch, who made the original G-Wagon. So what's this one worth? I paid 13 grand for this, and it should definitely be worth all the money to that, but I've owned it, I've broke it, so let's put it down at 10 grand. And a Citroen Ami. Now this is electric, but as you can hear from that sound, I've fitted an exhaust. Top speed on this car, 28 miles per hour, but if you've got friends like mine and we're all idiots, we go to the top of a hill, fill the car with lots of ballast and get 64.1 miles an hour, a world record. Check back that to one of our previous videos. This cost me £10,000. It was quite expensive because I had to import it from France and it was a right load of hassle. What's it worth now? I'd say the same, £10,000. But these are going to be available in the UK, so it's definitely going to drop. So back in the studio again, because this car is off-site. This is the Crompton Milk Float. Like I said in the previous video, I have absolutely no idea why I bought this. It must have been a quiet day in the office. Now this is a 1978 vehicle, so that's 44 years ago they were doing full electric versions. So this was the first Tesla. So this cost me £8,000 and it does need a little bit of work spent on it. So a bit of a restoration. This is probably going to be worth a good 20 to 30 grand, so it's definitely collectible. So for the purpose of this video, we'll put it down to be safe at £12,000. So ML63 next. Now this was a lovely car. We managed to chop the back off it, turn it into pickup and turn it into an absolute monster. It's a 6.2 litre, it's extremely fast, beautiful V8 engine, and you wait until you hear what we've done to it. This cost £13,000 and we spent about 7 grand turning it into this monster. So what's it worth now? That does equate to 20, but I reckon, for safety's sake, let's put it down as 15 grand. Peugeot 1.9 GTI, Renault 5 GT Turbo. One thing for certain, back in the 90s, you'd never see these two part together. You'd have been stoned to death to have both of these in your collection. But one thing for certain, if you were 17 and you had one of these, you had a very pretty girlfriend. Back then, these didn't have all the mod cons. They weren't very electric. It was all about the driver. I always wanted one, couldn't afford one, but no safety features, no airbags. So the safest thing to have was a 90s perm. I paid only £5,000 for this, and it was a few years ago. I actually bought these cars together off the same bloke. And what's this worth now? This has made good money. I'd say it's worth 15. I bought this quite a long time ago. I only paid £7,000 for this, but right now this has got to be worth a good 20. But to be safe, for this, we'll put it down as 18. The Clio RS18. Now this is the car which I use the most. The only reason, because the manual handbrake is absolutely fantastic. I do love a French hot hatch, and this is a really rare car, only 15 into the UK, and it's a numbered car. So again, good job Renault, because it really helps with the resale value. Bucket seats, lowered, fat arches and spoilers. For me, this is exactly what a hot hatch should be. So I paid for this £18,000. Quite a lot of money for a Clio, but it is a really, really rare car. What's it worth now? To be safe, let's leave it at 18. This is my passion, my Polaris buggies. This year I became 13 times British champion. These things are amazing. You get to go around a motocross track and you can jump them. It is an absolute buzz to be in these. To build these is quite expensive, so cost on this is probably about £25,000. But what they're worth second hand, This is probably the turbo one, about 20. This is the other variation. It's a single-seater non-turbo. Now, I built this specifically to backflip. Jane's not too keen on that anymore, especially now we've got Senna. And also, I've learned to two-wheel this so I can go around like quite a long way on a track on two wheels. So this one, again, built race ready like this with all these special parts for the jump, about 25. So again, rough estimate, about £20,000 worth. The BMW E92 Coupe. Now this is a fantastic car as a collector. It's a manual, it's a coupe, it's rear wheel drive, it's a lot of fun. 4-litre V8 burning a big hole in that ozone layer and sounding even better. Beautiful spec, black interior, lovely white outside. This is a great collector car. So I paid £21,000 for this. What's it worth? 25, 21, 20, let's go for 20. So the E46 M3 manual coupe, I would say probably the best car BMW has ever made. Rear wheel drive, sidewards, perfect car, not too much electronics, a fantastic car for any driver. 0 to 60, 4.5 seconds, and bearing in mind this is a 22-year-old car, and let's face it, it was a family car used by the salesman and a proper race car. This car is definitely a keeper. Get older one if you can, but find one with low mileage is pretty much impossible. So I paid for this £23,000, but what's it worth now? It is difficult because they are very collectible. But we've got a bit of moss and grass growing, so I reckon we'll put it down at 30k. And this is Jane's Range Rover Evoque. She does love a soft top, but more importantly, all the destruction testing she has done has now gone into the NASA Space Shuttle. So this car costs £36,000, but with all the destruction tests on the wheels, we're going to put it down as £30,000. This is a Humvee. It weighs 3 tons and it does 4 miles per the gallon. So if me, Jane and Senna want to go to Nando's and back, it's going to cost us £35. 0 to 60 is about 2 weeks, but the problem with this car is I imported it, like I say, from America, so it did have a bit of a back to it, but they took it off on the export, something to do with military licenses. So this has only done 1,500 miles. It cost me 30 grand, so I'd say it's probably worth exactly the same. And this is another switch up daily for me, the Mercedes A45 Yellow Night Edition. Really rare car this, only 80 into the UK. Really quick car this one, 0 to 60, 4.1 seconds, and it pops and bangs. Everything that little hot hat should do. This was a really rare find on a company called Kazoo. So you bought it online and they dropped it off. 15,000 miles on this car and a perfect spec, beautiful interior and absolutely pristine condition. So I paid for this 35 grand. What's it worth now? 30? No, actually no, 35, because this is a rare car, it's perfect condition and I can't imagine it will ever lose any money. So a Toyota GI Yaris. Now this has got to be a good car because they built this specifically to make it a good driving car. A little bit of a rally car, so yeah, definitely a bit of me. Is it worth the money? Nope. 4-wheel drive, limited slip diff and based on a rally car. This car should be epic, but for me, it's soulless. The noise is about as friendly as the Ami. This is the 3rd one I've had. I sold the other 2 for profit. I made a mistake. I wish I hadn't bought it now. So I paid for this 34 grand, which is twice as much as a Clio, and it's probably, in my opinion, don't shoot me, not even as good. What's it worth now? Let's put it the same because it has got the circuit pack, £34,000. And now the Clio V6, really nice car for a collection. The downside of this is it should be silver. It's been painted pearlescent white with these grey wheels, but I do think that the car looks better. So we'll try and ignore that. And the good thing about for a collection, this is a numbered car, which I've got a lot of time when a manufacturer bothers to do an itemised numbered plaque. But the trouble with this car is pretty crap. Horrendous turning circle, weight way too high because of that V8, so she's pretty lively. So I paid £26,000 for this, and that was only back in 2019. They have rocketed in price. What's it worth? Should be maybe 40. That's the least expensive on PistNeds right now, but because it's not the original colour, for safety, let's put it in as 35. So next, the Aston Martin Signet. Now this is super rare. They only made about 150, and the sole reason was only because the government made them do an average emissions. And one thing which also increases the value of this car is the history. Like, there is so much paperwork with this, and when you come to resell these cars, this will make a massive difference, especially if it's way better than everybody else's. So what did I pay? I paid 30, but this has definitely got up in value now. It is the perfect example. We're up to about 38, maybe even 40. Next, the Brabus 125, and why it's called that? Because they literally only made 125. I bought this again at auction. I wasn't on site, but I was told by the guy that this is the only single one in the world which is a hardtop version. So this is a 0.9 turbocharged engine. I do love a Brabus, and the reason is because of the massive mods they do. This is a smart car, you've got to remember that, but it is the perfect example. Super, super clean, low mileage, perfect colour combination. So at auction, I paid 30 grand for this. What's it worth now? At least 40. So this is a Sabre Tanker CVRT. Now what's crazy about this? It's road legal. I literally just passed my H licence, which means just got to insure it and I can go to Tesco's and back in this with all my mates. This cost me 40 grand, but it is definitely going to go up in value, especially with all the wars and the trouble which are going on. These things get exported every single day. What's it worth now? 40 grand. The Escort RS Cosworth, an absolute iconic car and a real must for a proper car collection. This one, the motorsport version, much better for me. Less mod cons, goes a little bit faster. Velour seats, this is a lovely spec for this one. Real good with the age. Iconic car and very, very iconic spoiler. These getting less and less of them simply because so many were crashed and so many were stolen. So this was a bargain. I stole this car really. I only paid £30,000. What's it worth now? It should be worth 70, but I've owned it. I've managed to set it on fire, rip the front spoiler off, board the power steering. I'm not proud of it. So let's be safe. Let's value this one at about 50. And next, an extremely nice example of a Bentley Super Sports. What's special about this one? It does 204 miles per hour. This particular model only has 9,000 miles. And when we have a look at the interior, it is absolutely perfect condition. It even still smells new. So I bought this car back in 2019, and just before that, they'd held really good money at about 100 grand. They dropped massively. I paid 55k for this, which to be fair was an absolute bargain because it's the coupe and it's in the beautiful white. What's it worth now? I reckon it's up to a good 75, 80. So for the safety's sake, we'll put it down as 75. The Audi short wheelbase, a beautiful looking car. Now this started off at 300 brake horsepower. We've done a few mods, it's now at 650 bhp. So I had this made in 40th anniversary colours. It's absolutely beautiful and it runs on methanol and it has anti-lag. So to give you an example of how expensive this car was when it was new, this was £90,000. Now a Lamborghini Countach at the same time was 55 grand. So cost, this one was about 85k. So we'll put it down for worth right now at the same 85 grand. So we're back in the studio again because the Gallardo GT3 is still stuck at the other warehouse. So you'd have seen from previous videos that I've had the gearbox fitted and it still won't drive. This car is absolutely crazy, rear wheel drive, 40 millimeters off the ground. It is an absolute race car. You can't get a V5 for it, so you can literally just look at it. Cost new, worked out in euros about 250k. So with the conversion and the VAT, it works out at £350,000, which is an absolute crazy amount of money. Now I paid for this 90 grand. What's it worth today? I think we'll put it down as 100 grand because it's definitely never going to depreciate. So with Group B rallying, they had to make 200 cars to qualify for the championship. So some of the cars I made were ridiculous and extremely rare. This is the Audi S1 recreation, built for me, loads of original parts. It is an absolute work of art with all this ridiculous aero. But if it wasn't original, which this one isn't, it would be worth about £2 to £3 million. So this has been built with a lot of the factory original parts and probably it cost me about £100,000. Now what's it worth now? Just to be safe, but I'm sure it's worth more, we're going to go for the same 100 grand. So probably the most underrated car I own, the Honda Ferrari NSX, an absolutely fabulous car to drive. This has got to be one of the best cars I have ever sat in. So this Honda 3.5 litre twin turbo with electric motors as well. So it does everything. It's got all that power, all that turbo and no lag. Trust me, it is immense to drive. So like I say, this car does everything. Senna loves it going to school, but more importantly, all-wheel drive and it drifts around the track like an absolute dream. The Gen 1 car was legendary and this Gen 2 apparently only sold about 100. Like I say, it makes no sense because this car is absolutely epic. This car cost £105,000, but it's supercar money when new, 150 grand, and that's probably explained why they are so rare. What's it worth now? I think we should stick on the same value at 105 grand. Definitely one of my favourites. This is a proper official World Rallycross Championship. This competed and it won. Super light, 2-litre turbo, 560 brake horsepower missile. It smells like a bomb. It's about as close as it gets. It does 0 to 60 2 seconds. So this car, pretty unusable. It hasn't got a V5, but me and Nick have decided we're going to try and get this through the legal limit and then get it on the road. We've got to sort out the lights, a few other safety features, but imagine this down the A38. So I paid £110,000. Now it's definitely worth that now, and one of the reasons because since I bought it, God bless Timmy, he's now world champion. So that definitely adds to the value and the heritage of the car. So next, this is definitely one of my favourites, the M Sport Fiesta R5, a 1.6 turbo car. So what's really special about this car for me is this suspension travel. So basically, I can go up the field, race it round, but this is totally street legal. So this is a full-on blown rally car, which we can go to the shops and back in. This car is super fast, super loud, sequential gearbox, anti-lag, four-wheel drive, and of course, that all-important hydro handbrake. So this one cost me 130k, and what's it worth today? It's definitely holding its value, so we're going to value it the same, 130. So don't forget to comment on your top three, and for me, this is by far my best. The Mercedes C63 Black Series. The Black Series are an extremely rare car, and apparently there's only 66 of these left in the UK. The good thing about this car, it was a C-Series car, so basically it was a salesman, a family car, and then they did this ridiculous aero kit which made them really expensive to buy. So these were £110,000 new, which was ridiculous because that was a full £45,000 more than the standard C63, and you didn't get a lot more apart from the looks. So the black one is a 4-seater option with only 4,000 miles on the clock, and the white one is the 2-seater version with only 15,000 miles on the clock. So these have gone up in value massively. So this one cost me 95 grand, it's now worth 160. This one cost me 91, I value that at 140. So absolutely fantastic investment. We're into the top 10 now, so please stick around because at the end I am going to reveal how much I've made on the car collection, and it even surprised me. So the Brabus 850 GLE Coupe, this car is absolutely beautiful. I feel so privileged to have this one. This is definitely one of my dailies, probably the most enjoyable car to drive, and it does everything. 850 brake horsepower, twin turbo, a family wagon which does 200 miles per hour. What else do you need? Matey in Slovakia needed to go to Specsavers because every single wheel is curved, and I will get it all nice and tidy because it is worth it. Ready for a cheeky cold start? So this one cost me £120,000, and it is really difficult to say how much it's worth now. There's one for sale in Germany, 50,000 miles. This one's only got 15,000 miles. That one's up at £210,000. So for today, let's value this at 200. So next up is literally the holy grail of the whole of Ford manufacturing, the Ford RS200 homologation Rally Group B car. So they only made 200 of these, and I'm really lucky that I've got 2 of them. This is a rally version and also the red one, which is a road version. They are absolute collectible pieces, and let's face it, they're only going to go one way in value. So these Group B monsters opened up like this so you could work on them, and then they were banned a year later, so maybe that's why they're so collectible, because so many of them got smashed up. But this thing is absolutely beautiful. So apparently there's now only about 120 of these left. So what they worth? This one cost me £207,000, the red one 203. I don't know, they're worth a good 280 because that's what one sold for recently at Silverstone auctions. But personally, I think they're probably worth about 300 grand realistically. But the red one is for sale, so hit me up on Instagram, McCann64, to do a deal. This one is our second home. It's an RC motorhome. When I'm racing, we're really lucky to have this because when we're sat in the field, this is probably better than our home, and I actually sleep better in this than in my own bed. And this, it's worth a lot of money, this one, to be fair. I paid £250,000, which is a ridiculous amount of money, but it's actually going up in value. This is now worth about 300k. So the Hurricane STO, now Now this is a special car. If I had to describe it with one word, I'd probably go with lively. It's rear wheel drive, it's stupidly fast, it is pretty amazing, and it is Nick's favourite car.
Love this car, absolutely love this car. It's just a race car for the road, basically.
So we are thinking about taking this car onto the Gumball. It's a choice between the STO and a car which is coming up, the SVJ. So drop us a comment which you think we should take. The aero on this car is absolutely unbelievable. Everybody comments about what this thing looks like. There's loads of special things, loads of carbon. Even the windscreen is thinner to make it lighter. Like Nick says, this is a race car, and it's just as dangerous as a race car. The Perf I had before was a 4-wheel drive. This is a 2-wheel drive. What's going to be worth more in the long run? I'd say probably the STO, although the Perf was a special car. Now, when you come to spec in these cars, it's a difficult one because you do want your own choice, but then again, you have got to think about resale value, especially if you can't afford to lose a load of money. Now, this pearlescent paint was £12,000, which is absolutely ridiculous because you could buy a beautiful car for that sort of money. But it's not going to lose any money, in my opinion. It's a safe place to put it. And in today's economy, where do you put your money? So these have been fetching massive money overs. This one cost me $280, so I don't know, cheapest one on the minute is about $320. Unfortunately, my name is on the V5, so let's put it down to $310. So a car which isn't here yet is the Urus Performante. Now this is a special car and it is so sought after. There is a huge waiting list. Now this is going to be the first car into the country and it will literally be here any day. So keep your eyes out because we'll do a video as soon as this car drops. So the problem with getting an early car up high on the Lamborghini list is sometimes they force a spec, and this is one of those cars. So I didn't have a choice. They told me what colours were available and what specs, which is great if you want the stuff. But I'm just going to list some of the stuff which is ridiculous, which I would have never spent the money on. Ambient light pack, £2,200. B&O sound system, £5,000. Interior carbon pack, £4,000. Cargo management system, £447. Dark pack interior, £2,000. Full ADAS pack, £5,300. Door handles in red, £600. I think that's got me off the Lamborghini list yet. Premium air quality system, £500. Ventilation and massage, £2,900. They must have known about me bad back. So the finished list price on this car is £275,000, which is just mental. I've had a few of these cars already and sold them, and the reason would have been probably because of profit. But my first one was 189 grand. So this is just mental. But what is this worth? So today, without a doubt, if I sold this car, on which I'm not going to, so please don't message me, that's another £70,000 profit I could get instantly without any shadow of doubt. So that brings this car up to £345,000. Mental. So now we're into the top three, which I'm really excited because this is probably my most used car. What I've done with this car has been called abusive. I've been called an idiot, but I class it as taking this car to the max. And trust me, what this has been through, and it does not break. What we will do now is we'll do a bit of a sound test because I want to see if the money this is worth equates the noise it makes. Beautiful assistant Nicholas. What was that?
135.
So that's maxed out. Better go way back. Top window, come on.
What is it?
Same. 135.
Yeah, you need to go harder.
So this is a 6.5 litre normally aspirated V12 monster. So new this car was £380,000 and it is numbered a 1 in 900 car, so it's always going to keep its money. What's it worth today? Do you reckon 350?
You've owned it.
Okay, let's put it down as 340. It's insured for 350. So now the penultimate car. Is it penultimate?
The what?
What? The one from last car, we'll have to check that. So this is an absolute unicorn. To give you an idea, the CLK DTM, they made 100. Now where does that stand? Enzo 500, LaFerrari, they made 600. And this, only 100 pieces ever in the world. When these were new, they were never for sale. It was invitation only. Celebs, Formula One drivers, Montoya, Raikkonen and Button all bought one of these. So nobody knew they were coming until they saw them on the streets of Monaco. This wasn't even a black series. This wasn't even made by AMG. This was specifically made in the race team's factory. So this car is basically a race car. It's dripping in carbon and it's not even for show. Even in the boot, lift up the carpet and it's carbon fibre. The anti-roll bars, all the door panels, it's just all about weight saving. So the noise test on this, I know it's not going to be exciting because it's got a soft limiter on it about 4,000. So let's spoiling our fun. It doesn't sound the most exciting car, to be fair, but it definitely is one of the most exciting in the world. So the big question on this car, because it is so rare, is what is it worth? This has only done 17,000 miles in 17 years. Now, even I can do the maths on that. I paid £180,000 for this, which was a lot of money, but they have absolutely rocketed in value. When I looked yesterday, the cheapest one you could buy for this is £410,000. So what's this worth? I think we should go in at about 410, but I've had it, I've donated it, so let's bring it back down to 400. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, my most expensive car.
They hate when you elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight.
So this is the actual steering wheel where all that action happened. Like, this car has been through so much. It's even beaten Lewis Hamilton in the Formula 1 car. And that is actually gold plated. So 6-speed sequential box, we've got hydraulic handbrake, and we have a 0 to 60 of 1.8 seconds. Now that is ridiculous. That is the same as a facelift. This is the most watched car on the internet, and it seems crazy, but like, this isn't in a collection where it's not going to be used. I've had this up the field and you are going to get to see it. This has been in Gymkhanas, it's done a World Rally Cross, it's done a World Rally Championship, it's even had a leopard sat in this seat. So in here is a 2-litre Garrett turboed engine with crazy air intakes, and one thing which is really interesting is a lot of these parts are simply held on with cable ties, again, just for weight loss. And these clips are ridiculous, so the pressure in there must be immense. And you can even see where it's been on fire. So there are loads and loads of compromises just to make this thing go fast. There's 17 GoPro points on here, and that's because it's had, I'd imagine, hundreds of millions of views. All the wheels are specially designed to get air intake into cooling those brakes. And one thing which is really interesting is in the back here is the radiator. Now, on a usual car, you'd expect that at the front. But the reason it's in the back is because when rallycross races are going ahead, the cars are that close together, you don't get that pull-in of air. So it's all designed to go over the top of the car and be sucked in through the rear end. Obviously, this is Ken Block's car. It's called the RX63. Now, all the people close to him, which I know, said they can't believe this ever got sold. And the reason is because he changed brands, so he had to get rid of these cars because he could no longer advertise them. Luckily, it came my way. So glad I bought it. And yeah, the big reveal on how much this is worth. I paid £350,000 for a Fiesta. Now, that might sound ridiculous, but what is this car worth? It's a one-of-one. It's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Somebody has already offered me £1 million and I've turned it down. In total, for all 54 cars, I paid £3,652,900. And if I was to sell everything today, it would be worth £5,207,900, leaving me with a profit of £1,555,000. Thank you for watching that video. Please hit that like button. It does help us a lot, and I will see you next time.